Ningependa tuanze. And according to the program, tunafaa tumalize around noon time, thereabout. So for the sake of time, tutakimbiza kidogo, because naona hapa masaa imesonga kidogo. We did this waiting for a quorum, and we are not badly, because the discussion of today, it can always be extended from us kwa wale wengine ambao watakuja. Ama tukiwapata pale nyumbani, tunaweza waeleza ile tumesoma, si ndio? So please note down on those notebooks on two things. Anything of interest, and also in question, ndio tukifika ni kwa plenary ya question and answer, tuweze kuuliza maswali tukiwa wote. Si sawa? Maybe to ask, tungependa tuelezane na lugha gani? Kizungu, Kiswahili? Do both. Asante. Hiyo tumeelewa. Tutaweza kuchanganya, because pande ya mtambo pia kuna it's being recorded. So tunasikizwa na wale wengine ambao hawakuweza kuwa nasi. So we want to be clear on physical and online members. Ningependa at this time niite Bwana Geoffrey Kuria atufungulie kwa maombi. Karibu Bwana Kuria.
Shukran our Vice Chair. Mungu ni mwema na kila wakati. Hamjambo washirika ya tunashukuru kuwaona. Tutaanza kwa maombi. Kwa jina la Baba na Mwana na Mtakatifu. Amina. Baba, katika jina la Yesu Kristo, tunakuja mbele zako asubuhi ya leo kwa shukrani nyingi, kwa sababu umetuamsha na ukatuleta katika mkutano huu. Tunaomba tukianza uanze na sisi, na pia tukimalizia uweze kumaliza na sisi, na pia tunakushukuru kwa sababu ya yale ambayo utatutendea. Tunaenda kukushukuru kwa sababu ya sako yetu, na tunaomba kwamba uendelee kuikuza ili maono yetu yawe mazuri, na tukikua tutaweza kukushukuru hapo baadaye. Tunaomba hayo kwa jina la Kristo Bwana wetu. Amina. Kwa jina la Baba na Mwana na Mtakatifu. Amina. Mimi naitwa Geoffrey Kuria, na mimi ndiye board member ambaye mmechagua, na tunashukuru kuwaona na pia kuwatakia kila laheri tunapoendelea kusoma. Mungu awabariki.
Thank you, Bwana Kuria. As you heard, that's a board member of Wangige, a very instrumental board member who came from your region. Na asanteni kwa kutupatia, a very productive member. Asante. As you can see, he's a very smart person, always. Thank you. Today we are going to consume the instruments that are going to drive us from what you used to have. Inaitwa AGM, ile tulikuwa tunafanya kila mwaka, si ndio? Tuta transit kutoka kwa AGM into ADM. So tunataka kuelezwa leo the steps that tuta take from ADM to AGM, from AGM to ADM, na yule ambaye atatuambia none other than Mr. Eric Award from Alpha Trident. Tafadhali. Na members wamesema jaribu tuchanganye Kizungu na Kiswahili. You know, he's a learned fella from shule zile kubwa kubwa, so tafadhali pole pole.
Thank you. Hamjambo members. The energy is very low. Is it we didn't take breakfast? Hamjambo. What is my name? What is my name? Sijui last year, I think mwezi wa 8, tulikuwa na AGM, SGM rather, na tulikuwa tunapitia mambo ya bylaws, and if you are not able to follow physically, lazima uliniona kwa simu or computer. And sababu ya hiyo mkutano ilikuwa Commissioner of Cooperatives alitueleza kwamba ikiwa sako iko na zaidi ya members 5,000, we need to look at who is active, who is not active, and see a reasonable way ya kukuwa na AGM. Maanake zile sako ambazo ziko na members zaidi ya 5,000, wakati wa AGM tuseme mnataka kupitisha resolution and then mnapiga kura, how do you count the 5,000 people? How long does it take? And so if the vote is almost 50-50, it means you have a very difficult time. And so the reasoning was that for you to have a bit of can I call it an orderly meeting, you need to change the structure. The other thing is, kama mko na members 5,000 ama zaidi, hii mkutano mtakuwa nayo wapi? And I know a Sacco in Nairobi that holds a meeting in a stadium because of the number of people. So those are some of the logistics. Waliona, tusaidie Saccos zetu, tuwaeke mahali ambapo mtachagua watu ambao tutawaita delegates. Hawa delegates watakuwa wanaenda kwa ADM, lakini mnawachagua wenyewe. Na wakati mnataka kuchagua hawa delegates, mnawachagua kwa katika zones zenyu. Kwa hivyo Sacco ilibidi itengeneze ama itafute njia ya kuweka kwa zones. Hapa NRS Sacco tuko na zones 5. Tuko na zones 5 kwa sababu tuko na branches 5. Tuko na branch ya Kikuyu, tuko na branch ya Nderi, tuko na Kinoo, Dagoreti na hapa Wangige. Kwenye ni rahisi kidogo. Kuna wengine ambao kupata branches ama zones hivi ni ngumu. But board iliona ni rahisi tutumie zile branches ambazo tuko nazo, tubadilishe branch ikue electoral zone. Hilo ni jambo la kwanza. Lakini pili, commissioner alisema tuwe na delegates kati ya 150 na watu 500. So any Sacco that has got over 5,000 members lazima ikuwe na between 150 and 500 delegates. Wakati tulikuwa tunapitisha bylaws, tukasema haya, tutatafuta hawa delegates 150. Lakini tuko na directors pia. Ili tuzilete vacuum katika leadership ya Sacco, hawa directors wetu automatically to a transition pia wawe delegates. However, in the coming years, wakati mtakuwa mnafanya uchaguzi ya delegates, even sitting directors will have to vie for delegates positions. So this transition was just to make sure that there is no vacuum. Na kwa hivyo, ikiwa mtakuwa mnatafuta delegates 150, na tayari tuko na directors 9, na pia tuko na supervisory 3, that means 12. That is why we have 162. 162 from the 150 we will look for, and the 12 that are automatic transitions. So all system ilikuwa, tuko na members wanaenda kwa AGM. Na nimekuwa na nyinyi kwa AGM mara moja pale Kikuyu kwa kanisa. Kanisa ilijaa. Lakini sasa badala ya kila mtu kuja, tunasema wacha tutafute watu 162. Hawa wawe representatives wetu. It is similar to the way we cannot all go to parliament to go and make decisions. So we have chosen some people to go and vote or make decisions on our behalf. If you called 40 million or 50 million Kenyans to go and vote, it will take a long time. But if you have some 360 people in a room, you can make a decision very quickly. So tutakuwa na delegates, na hawa delegates wanachaguliwa katika zones. Na zones ndio hizi, tuko na zones 5. I will talk you through the distribution of delegates within those zones. But more than that, tutaangalia jinsi ambavyo tutakuwa tunachagua hawa delegates wetu, ni nini wanahitaji, na pia kutoka delegates ni tutakuwa tunachagua board members. Na hiyo ndio sababu tulisema automatically wacha tufanye board members ambao tayari wapo wakuwe delegates. Lakini hapo mbele mkiendelea, mtakuwa mnachagua board members wenyu kutoka kwa delegates wenyu. So this basically is a summary of what I'm going to be talking about. Ile structure ilikuwa members mlikuwa mnaenda kwa AGM. AGM was the apex decision making body in NRS Sacco. Annual General Meeting. That is what AGM stands for. Na kutoka kwa AGM, from the members is where you are picking these people who are the board and supervisory committee. And then you are delegating certain things. Mko mnawaambia sasa nyinyi endeni mka ajiri watu ambao watakuwa na fanya mambo ya sako on a day-to-day basis operations. Lakini tunasema katikati ya members na AGM tumeleta hiki, hawa watu wanaitwa delegates. Kwa hivyo hawa delegates, hawa watu 162 ndio watakuwa wanaenda kwa AGM. Alafu hawa watu pia, hawa delegates in your respective zones ndio mtakuwa mnafanya uchaguzi wa board. So ukichaguliwa kama delegate Wangige, and then delegates mnakutana, mnachagua director Wangige. So tukienda kwa AGM, the AGM will simply confirm that ni huyu ndio Wangige, watu wa Wangige wametupatia. Basically that's what's going to happen. So your voice as a member must be heard when we have the meeting at the level of zone. Because kama tuko na mkutano na watu 5,000 wamekuja, it is not likely you will get a chance to speak. But if we have a meeting and we have got some 800 people or 400 people, your chances of having your voice being heard are much higher. So your voice is going to be very important at the level of your zonal meeting, because there are things that are very close to your heart that you would like to have the board listening to. And if you go to an AGM, you might find that tunaweza ambiwa, because of time, can we move on to other things? So in the zones, a lot of things that are supposed to happen are going to be dependent on you, the member, participating. Nilisema tutazungumzia jinsi ambavyo hawa delegates wamekuwa distributed. So 162 delegates watakuwa distributed based on the size of the branch. Hapa NRS Sacco, Kikuyu branch ndio iko na members wengi. Na kwa sababu members wa Kikuyu ni wengi, delegates wao watakuwa wengi. So Kikuyu 66 delegates. Wangige 32. Nderi 29. Kinoo 25 and Dagoretti 10. Total 162. So ikiwa mtataka kwamba muongezewe delegates kama branch ya Wangige, then it means it is in your interest to increase the size of the branch, the membership in the branch. Currently, our bylaws and our election policy has limited the number of delegates to 162. If we grow the membership, our allocation will grow. Tuseme kwa mfano, tupate members wengi, tuanze kutoshana na Kikuyu. It means there will be redistribution here, assuming we are still distributing 162. Either that or delegates wetu. Kwa annual delegates meeting watasema, sasa, kwa sababu branches zetu, membership yetu imeongezeka, wale delegates badala ya 162, tuongeze sasa wakue 180. Now, how do we allocate the 18 ambao tumeongeza? So, ikiwa mtakuwa mnataka more representation, then it means you must recruit more members. So, you are the second biggest branch. Congratulations. And I want to encourage you to continue doing recruitment of members ili tupate delegates wengi zaidi ya hawa 32. Now, licha ya hayo, tumesema kwamba delegates ndio watakuwa wanachagua directors. Hapa Wangige tuko na directors wawili. Kikuyu wako na directors watatu, Nderi wako na directors wawili, Kinoo wako na wawili, na Dagoretti wako na director mmoja. Supervisory committee mmoja ako Kinoo, mmoja ako Nderi na mwingine ako Kikuyu. So if your membership grows, it is possible we can also do some reallocation hapa. Either mtaongezwa mtu wa supervisory, so somebody will lose kwa sababu supervisory ni watatu, or you might get an extra director based on the size of the branch. So tuelewe kwamba representation yetu inategemea size ya branch yetu. So for our branch to have more representation, it must grow, and it must grow when our active membership grows, not just total membership, your active members. That statistic is important. In fact, wakati mtakuwa mnapewa audited accounts, pale mbele kuwa kuna page ambayo iko na summary statistics. Nataka muwe mkipitia hiyo page na muangalie membership. I hope we can have a time when the office, you will be giving a breakdown of membership per branch so that members wenyewe pia waelewe this is where we are. But your distribution ya delegates na ya directors itakuwa inategemea size ya branch yenu. Ikiwa mko watu wengi ambao you are saving, you are borrowing, you are repaying, you will have more representation. So that is the one of the things. Hapa nishazungumzia, tumesema zones zetu ni 5: Kikuyu, Wangige, Nderi, Kinoo na Dagoretti. Kila zone itakuwa na mwenyekiti wa hiyo zone na pia itakuwa na secretary wa hiyo zone. Maanake wakati umeweka kikao ya members, wakati kuna mkutano, we must have somebody chairing that meeting. We must have somebody who is organizing the convening of that meeting. So kila zone itakuwa na mwenyekiti, kila zone itakuwa na secretary. One of your elected directors must be the chair of that zone. The secretary you can give anybody, but the zone chairperson must be an elected director in that zone. So you saw every zone has got directors. Kikuyu has 3, one of them will be the zone chair. Here Wangige we have 2, one of them will be the zone chair. Nderi iko na wawili, one of them will be the zone chair. Kinoo iko na wawili, one of them will be the zone chair. Dagoretti iko na director mmoja, so that person will automatically become the zone chairperson. But from amongst the delegates there will be a zone secretary, na nitawaeleza kazi ya zone secretary shortly. So tuone, ili uchaguliwe kuwa delegate, what are the things we are looking for? Because remember, tumesema kwamba kwanza tutakuwa tunachagua delegates kwa kila zone. Alafu baada ya kuchagua delegates, tutakuwa tunachagua directors. So, ili uwe delegate, tunaangalia mambo machache. There are financial, personal and integrity issues we will be looking at. Financial, tumesema kwamba minimum share capital 20,000 shillings. Currently, minimum share capital is what? 15 for an ordinary member. Is it? Yes? Sorry? 3,000. So, there is a reason why this threshold has been put like this, because part of what you're trying to demonstrate as a delegate is commitment to the organization. So, minimum share capital, 20,000. Alafu kuna deposits. Pale kuna fosa na kuna bosa. Savings za bosa, back office, ile non-withdrawable, ile ambayo unarudishiwa tu wakati umesema sasa unataka kutoka NRS Sacco. Minimum ni 200,000. Na tunasema kwamba in the last financial year usipatikane kwamba zaidi ya siku 90 ilipita kama uko na loan na uko unalipa. So you must not have been delinquent for a period of more than 90 days. I know sometimes people take shortcuts. Wacha nimpeni mfano. Kuna sako nyingine ambayo iko na this particular statement, although theirs is 120 days, but they have a board member who didn't pay his loan for the entire year. Alafu December 28 akalipa hiyo loan yote akamaliza. Sasa hii mwaka this person is up for elections. Vetting committee wameketi. Election policy inasema kwamba you must not have been delinquent for a period of how long? More than 120 days. Wakitoa statement yake wanaona nini? This person was delinquent for a period of 8 months in the previous financial year. So does that person pass the vetting process? Hata kama amemaliza loan? It doesn't, because he has violated one of the criteria, isn't it? Kwa hivyo hapa NRS tuelewe, within our bylaws and within our election policy tumesema kwamba ili uchaguliwe kama delegate, share capital ya member ni 3,000, lakini ya delegate we want to see some commitment, so 20,000. Pili, non-withdrawable deposits or BOSA savings. You can save whatever you want, but we are asking that you have no less than 200,000. And please, kama umechukua loan, tunaelewa kwamba economy saa zingine mambo inakuwa ngumu, but do not default for more than 90 days. Na wacha niwaibie siri. Even when things are difficult, at the very least, you pay the interest. You will not be flagged as being delinquent. All right? Even when things are difficult, at least cover the interest payment. Now, that is finance. On a personal criteria, because we will not look at finance only, I can join NRS Sacco and meet these financial things today, but do I meet the other things? Tunasema, yule mtu ambaye anataka kuwa delegate, tungependa awe amekuwa member hapa kwa zaidi ya miaka 2. Na sio member tu, an active member. Because you see, somebody can also be a dormant account holder. Then I just wake up and say I want to be a leader. Now, if I am dormant, it means I'm not showing the commitment. So, you want somebody who has been active for at least 2 years, 2 consecutive years, preferably the 2 years before that election. Then we are saying at least age 25 and above. And also at least KCSE level or equivalent. Hapo kwa KCSE, all the Sacco is asking for is ulete certificate. They are not interested in the grade that you scored. They just want to see that you completed KCSE, right? If you have a higher, certificate, whether academic or professional, fantastic. But the minimum is KCSE. And it does not, they are not looking at the grade at this point. Now, integrity. Tunasema no criminal record, not adjudged to be bankrupt or of unsound mind. Na pia, if you happened to be holding a public office or a political position, you cannot have been removed from that position because of matters of discipline. So that is telling us the kind of person you are. So those are things that have been put in both your bylaws na pia ziko katika election policy. So ili uwe delegate, these are the things that you require. Wakati ambapo Sacco itakuwa inaita watu watume applications zao za kuwa delegate, all these requirements and any other requirements that there may be will be put in that notice informing you that you need to apply. In fact, the application form, one of the things that it is good for the application form to have at the back are the application requirements. Now, ukichaguliwa kama delegate, how long are you a delegate? You are not a delegate forever. Kila delegate akichaguliwa anachaguliwa for a term of 3 years. Na uchaguzi huo wa delegates haitafanyikana kwa AGM, itakuwa inafanyika kwa zonal meetings. Kwa hivyo, kama kawaida mmekuwa mkikutana tu mara ya kwanza kama members katika AGM, sasa kila mwaka, when you're supposed to have elections for delegates, or if there is a vacancy, because it is possible that we can have a vacant position in our delegateship, if a vacancy arises, or if you're supposed to have delegates elections, you will be meeting before your AGM for the purposes of executing part of election of delegates. Ukichaguliwa kama delegate, you are elected for a period of 3 years. Lakini kama umechaguliwa kumaliza term ya mtu mwingine ambaye alikuwa delegate and the position fell vacant for whatever reason, it does not mean that sasa unaanza miaka yako 5 saa hizo. Miaka yako 3 wakati huo. Utakuwa unamaliza term ya yule ambaye umefanya nini? Umechukua nafasi yake. Hadi hapo tunaelewana? Are we together? Are we on the same page? Pili, notice, so kabla mkutano ya kufanya huu uchaguzi, you will receive a notice. Because remember, there's going to be a notice for you to apply. You will apply expressing an interest that you want to be a delegate. You will go through a vetting process because you will fill an application form for delegateship. You will attach whatever documents they are requesting, and then a committee is going to sit to vet the people who have applied. When the committee has finished its work, you will be told that we are going to have a meeting in this zone on a specific date for the purposes of carrying out the matters of the specific zone, up to and including election of delegates, if that is one of the agenda items. Hi. So at least 15 days notice will be given to you so that you can have election of your delegates. Na tumesema delegate akichaguliwa, the term is 3 years. Lakini, if a vacancy comes up in a delegate position, and this vacancy is less than 6 months to the next election, then you will not hold a by-election because there is no point. If it is less than 6 months to the next election, then there is no point, and therefore you will not have a by-election. Lakini kuna uwezekano tunaweza kuwa tumefanya announcement ya delegates, watu wameapply. Alafu baada ya kuchagua delegates, sasa tunataka kuchagua directors. Lakini hapa kwa directors, we run into a problem because it is possible one of two things can happen. You see, the requirements for directorship are slightly higher than for a delegate. And I want to go back here. Ukiangalia pale chini, minimum share capital for a delegate is 20, lakini for a director is 400. Minimum, is 40,000. Minimum deposits for a delegate is 200, but for a director is 500. Kwa hivyo, kuna uwezekano tunaweza chagua delegates, tupate delegates, lakini tukifika mahali pa kuchagua director, we run into a problem because one, either no delegate has met the requirements for directorship, or the people who have met the qualification for directorship amongst the delegates have not expressed an interest in becoming a director. And so, kitu kama hiyo ikifanyika, jambo kama hilo likitokea, what do we do? So tunasema, hiyo zone, si ati watakuwa bila director. Watafanya uchaguzi wa director anyway. Utaambia our delegates, now we have a problem. For you to be a director, all of you are meeting 20,000, but for you to be a director, we need somebody with 40. You have your back office savings. You have all met 200, but to be a director, you need 500. Can you pick somebody anyway? Let somebody express an interest. Lakini yule ambaye atachaguliwa, ahakikishe kwamba before the next election, awe amefikisha the 40,000 and the 500,000. So ikiwa utakuwa delegate na uchaguliwe ukuwe director, lakini hujatimiza mahitaji ya kuwa director, uko na mwaka mmoja wa kuhakikisha kwamba umetimiza mahitaji ya kuwa director. If the year passes and the person who had been elected has not met the criteria, then we will move on to somebody else to fill that position. Now, mahitaji ya kuwa director ndio hii. We are showing you this because kila delegate ambaye atachaguliwa is a potential director. Remember, we are picking delegates from members. And then we are picking directors from delegates. So kila delegate ni mtu ambaye anaweza kuwa director. So kama pia wewe umekuwa ukijaribu kukuwa director, labda wakati wa uchaguzi, how many members do we have in this zone? Let us say there are 1,000 members. As an example, maybe convincing 1,000 people that you are the best person to be a director is not very easy. Lakini sasa, if you can convince 1,000 members that you are amongst the 32, that is easier to do. Wakichagua watu, you're in the top 32 because kama wakati wa members wote tunachagua directors, umekuwa ukitokea namba 3, namba 4, it means you will be in the top 32. Now, you just need to convince 32 people that you need to occupy one of the 2 directors slots. So it is easier. So the requirements here, director. 1, a bona fide member. That means a member in good standing. Very important. You are saving, you are borrowing, you are repaying. You are a member in good standing. You might not have borrowed, but at the very least, if you have borrowed, you must be repaid. You cannot be defaulting. Bona fide member means you have met all the membership requirements. Then, for you to be a director, you must be a duly elected delegate. Being a duly elected delegate means you have met all the requirements for delegateship. Requirements for delegateship, tulikuwa tunasema nini? 20,000 share capital, 200,000 savings, a member for at least 2 years, age 25. Sindio? No perjury, dishonesty, criminal issues. You have met those integrity requirements. And then we also say you must be somebody who is literate. You're able to read and write. Pale mkiingia, hata tukiangalia program. Tukiangalia program, Sacco inaitwa NRS what? DT. Hiyo DT inamaanisha nini? Deposit taking, isn't it? It means you are regulated. Meaning you're regulated talks about you cannot have DT without talking about some people called SASRA. That means the standard of the people who are going to be elected into the leadership must be people who at the very least are able to read and write in English, because when you are going to be communicating to the regulator, and when the regulator is communicating to you, sometimes this is the way they communicate. You don't want somebody amekuwa director alafu haelewi sasa wanasema nini in their correspondences with you. There are many stakeholders that you interact with. The commissioner. In fact, bado sijakutana na any correspondences wametuma in Kiswahili. I have not yet met anything that they have sent to people in Kiswahili. The people who I know do this is in TZ, but here people do things in English. So yule ambaye atachaguliwa kama director at the very least must be able to read and write. Pili, tumesema 500,000 deposits and 40,000 share capital. Tatu, integrity. So kumbuka, kukuwa delegate, we were just saying for your integrity, no criminal record. So hiyo tutataka tu kuona mambo ya inaitwaje, certificate of good conduct, isn't it? For the first phase, you might find that it takes quite a while to get that. But for the next phase, ikiwa utataka kuwa umechaguliwa kama director, you need to start preparing those things early. Now, integrity, chapter 6. Chapter 6 inaangalia mambo ya health, TCC, nini nyingine. There are quite a number of things, isn't it? So you see, the standard ya director is higher than the standard ya delegate. Alafu, no conflict of interest. Sheria inakubali. Labda umechaguliwa NRS DT Sacco, maybe kule umetoka, watu wanaona wewe ndio unaelewa mambo ya Sacco, you might be a director in a small Sacco somewhere else, or a housing or an investment cooperative, mambo kama hayo. Just by way of background, NRS Sacco is registered under the Cooperative Societies Act, but you get a license to do deposit taking under the Sacco Act. The Cooperative Societies Act will allow you to be a board member in up to 3 cooperative societies. The Sacco Act will not allow you to be a director in more than 2 SACCOs that are licensed or authorized. So if you are a leader in another SACCO somewhere that is under SASRA, you must choose. Either you're a leader in NRS or you're a leader in the other SACCO. And it does not just mean being a board member. Kuna supervisory pia. So si ati uko kwa board hapa na board upande ule mwingine, ama board hapa na supervisory upande ule mwingine, ama supervisory hapa na board upande ule mwingine, ama supervisory huku na supervisory upande ule mwingine. Itabidi umechagua, provided that this SACCO and that other SACCO are both under SASRA. If the other SACCO is not under SASRA, you can be a leader there. I say that because mnaweza kuwa mkona cooperative societies zingine ndogo. Maybe you are in a small SACCO in your village. Maybe you are in a small cooperative society that is doing marketing, if you're doing milk aggregation and things like that. So conflict of interest things are very important, because when you're making decisions, will you make decisions for the benefit of NRS SACCO, or will you make decisions for the benefit of the other organization? And also commitment, all right? Then undeclared debts. So we don't want to have a situation whereby you want to be a leader and you are indebted and you're not telling us where those debts are coming from. Actually, wale watu ambao watataka kuchaguliwa kama directors, kuna kitu ambayo inaitwa fit and proper test ambayo lazima itajazwa. That fit and proper test is filed with SASRA. There are normally some 2 things beyond the fit and proper test. There is declaration of wealth and there is indemnity. Both of these things are filed. Declaration of wealth is both SASRA and the commissioner. Indemnity is filed with SASRA. So ni mzuri mwelewe mambo haya yote, kwa sababu kukuwa director iko na mahitaji mengi zaidi tukilinganisha na kukuwa delegate. Now, unaweza chaguliwa ukuwe director. For some reason, you fail to meet the qualifications. If you fail to meet the qualifications for directorship while you are director, automatically you fall out of being a director. Similarly, you can be elected come a delegate. If you fall out of the qualifications for being a delegate, automatically you fall out of being the delegate. If you do not meet the criteria that has been set by the organization, you fail to occupy the position. It is important for you to understand, because tunasema kila delegate is a potential director. Kukuwa director, you can enter in very few ways. I think there are just 3 ways. Kukuwa director, delegates watakuchagua. Kukuwa director, commissioner anaweza chagua. Let us say we have kicked out the entire board. The commissioner can appoint some people to do what? To hold directorship for a short time. Na kukuwa director pia, you can be co-opted. If the board fails to have quorum, somebody can be co-opted by the board of directors. Lakini mtu akiwa co-opted, lazima atafanyiwa confirmation in the next delegates or general meeting. Now, those are the 3 ways you can come in. The ways of leaving are very many. 1, your fellow board members can suspend you. And when you're suspended as a board member, we will go to the ADM and explain to the delegates why we suspended one of the board members. And then when we have confirmed that issue in the ADM, you are removed. Kwa hivyo, kama ulichaguliwa na members wa Wangige, lakini board imekususpend, sio members wa Wangige watasema sasa sisi tulimchagua kwa hivyo lazima tu awe pale. Hapana. Once you have chosen, nyinyi kama watu wa Wangige, you have left the fate of this person to the delegates. Mnanielewa? I can give an example. when we were having an impeachment, did they go back to the voters? They made the decision there, isn't it? So you have to understand it is a similar process. So a delegate must understand you have a very important role. Wakati umechaguliwa, si tuko na directors. Directors wenyewe wakiona kuna mmoja ambaye anawasumbua, labda ni director wa Wangige ambaye ameanza kuleta siasa ambayo haisaidii society, the directors can suspend that board member. Nyinyi members wa Wangige, you will only be informed that this is the decision we have made. So labda atakuja aseme, bwana, mimi watu wananifanya ile kitu mnitetee. Delegates wa Wangige might say, as we are saying, keep him, but the other delegates might say, kama amekuwa akisema hizo vitu wacha, aende tutafuta mtu mwingine. And then you will be asked as Wangige people to give somebody else to fill that position. So suspension by the board pending confirmation in the ADM, that is one. Pili, the commissioner can kick the entire board out or a specific board member. Ya tatu, SASRA wanaweza suspend board. When SASRA suspends the board, it is confirmed in the ADM. 4, members wanaweza sema board members wafanye nini? Waondoke. 5, mtu anaweza jiondoa mwenyewe aseme hii kazi mimi kama imenilemea ama siitaki, wacha wengine waendelee nayo. So you can show yourself out. So you can see, nimewaonyesha. Kuingia 3, lakini kutoka we've already reached 5. Of course, if you fail to meet the qualification criteria, you fail to occupy that position. So that is 6. And of course, in life we say only 2 things are certain, death and taxes. So if you're called to be with the Lord, automatically you transition out of being a board member. So there are 7 ways out of this house and only 3 ways in. It is easier to stop being a board member than to become a board member. Haya. Tumesema kwamba mtakuwa mnakutana kwa zone. So tukisema kuna zone meeting ya Wangige, what are we discussing? You will be having at least 1 zonal meeting. Kila mwaka lazima watu wa Wangige mkutana. At least mara moja. We cannot have a year that you do not have a zonal meeting in Wangige. And we are saying, for you to have that meeting, there will be at least some 15 days notice. So that you can prepare. You can get ready. In the notice, mtaelezwa ni nini mnakuja kuzungumzia kwa mkutano. Agenda ya mkutano ni nini. So that if there's a need for you to do research or to find out 1 or 2 things, you need to be informed. Na tumesema kwa zone, lazima tuwe na mwenyekiti wa zone na tuwe na secretary. Zone secretary is the one who will be capturing the minutes or ensuring the minutes of the zone are kept. So as the zone secretary, either you are the one recording or you're making sure the minutes have been what? Recorded. By making sure, it means that the zone secretary can delegate. Every zone has got a branch manager. So the zone secretary can delegate to the branch manager to capture the discussions. But wakati tutakuwa tuna sign, the minutes are signed by the chairperson and the secretary of the zone. So in the zone, what are the things we must do? We do election. We do election of our delegates, na pia tunachagua directors wetu. As determined by the board, that means based on the distribution. So kama nyinyi mmeelezwa, you will have 32 slots. You already have 2 directors, which means we are looking for 30 people to express an interest in being delegates of NRS Sacco. To go with the 2. Consider board reports. Kila wakati mtakuwa na zone meeting, kuna reports ambazo board itakuwa nawaletea. Ili kama members wa zone yenu muelewe performance ya Sacco imekuaje for the past 1 year and how does your zone compare. So you might be told that the Sacco is doing well, it is growing, but Wangige has grown more than other zones, so Wangige has supported the society more, and we do what? We encourage you to keep on doing the good work. Or you might be told, we are falling behind because other zones are registering more members. So we pull up our socks because the danger is if other zones grow faster than us, it means they might eat into our representation. Tumesema pia agenda items for the general meeting. Wakati mko na zonal meeting, you will have the issues you want to discuss in your zone. Lakini zaidi ya hapo, labda kuna mambo ambayo nyinyi kama members wa Wangige mngependa delegates wenyu wazungumzie. I can give an example. Labda mahali pale ambapo branch yetu iko, we think might not be the best location. We might say, hey, can we get another location that is either bigger, more accessible, whatever the case may be. That is not a decision that the delegates in Wangige can make by themselves. But the delegates in Wangige, they can ask the board, their delegates to do what? I mean, the members in Wangige can ask their delegates to do what? To take that request to the ADM. Ni kama vile si mnasikia mnatuma MP wenyu waende aseme anataka barabara ama project ya maji, sivyo? So you discuss proposed agenda items so that wakati wa annual delegates meeting, kumbuka nilisema kila zone lazima ikuwe na a chairperson and a secretary. Chairperson of the board atakuwa akiita zone secretaries. Kila zone secretary akuje aseme nini? Mlipitisha resolutions gani wakati mko kwa zonal meeting? What did you discuss and what were the things you were thinking you need to do what? To talk about. So the zone secretaries will be reading the resolutions that you passed in your zone. So that somebody will go and say, okay, members wa Wangige tulikutana siku fulani mahali fulani na tulizungumzia 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Our resolutions are 1, 2, 3 for your consideration. You pass resolutions as a request. Sometimes the ADM will say those resolutions tick, tunapitisha. Sometimes ADM itasema hapana, that resolution no. Kwa mfano tukisema tunataka branch ya pili within Wangige because we have grown, we are many. The ADM might tell us wamekuwa wakiangalia kama wanaweza expand. Yes, a second branch in Wangige might be necessary, but they want to open a branch in Kitengela. So watu wa Wangige mshikilie tu kwanza, mvumilie kidogo as they do what? Waangalie mambo ya Kitengela. So you see, you had a resolution where you were asking for a branch. Your resolution might not necessarily be granted, but it is important for the ADM to know anyway, because it might speak to something very specific, something very unique ambayo inafanyika within that zone. Sometimes they will tell you, yes, this is we think is a good idea, and we'll proceed. Ultimately, resolutions that you pass as a zone, the agreement to push it forward or to stop it is going to be determined by the resources that are available. Kazi ya ADM, tumechagua delegates, umechaguliwa kama delegate, umeenda pale mbele. Delegate itakuwa ina confirm board members, lakini delegates meeting pia inaweza toa wale watu ambao tumechagua. So board and supervisory, you can be removed by the ADM. Ukichaguliwa kama delegate, hiyo mkutano pia ndio itakuwa inaangalia mambo ya management structure. So like what I've given an example for branches. Financial oversight, how ndio wana adopt the finances, audited accounts, the statement of financial position, the statement of comprehensive income, zile hesabu ambazo external auditor huwa anawasomea. Now it is the delegates who are going to be adopting. So hata mambo ya kupitisha dividends na interest on deposit, sio members wote watakuwa wanapitisha, ni ADM ndio itakuwa inafanya nini? Inapitisha. So mambo ya auditors, mambo ya borrowing power, mambo ya budget, haya yote itakuwa nazungumziwa kwa ADM. If we find that we want to expel a member, because it is possible to suspend a member in the course of doing business, and then we are thinking that this member has got to go, amepewa nafasi ya jitetee, and we are seeing that there is nothing here, this person is a nuisance. The board cannot kick out a member by themselves. The board can only suspend. It is the annual delegates meeting that is going to do what? Consider the recommendation for expulsion. Indemnity of the area and bonuses, and also any other business that the ADM is doing. So basically, all the things ambazo tulikuwa tunafanya kama members kwa AGM sasa zitakuwa nafanyika kwa annual delegates meeting. Lakini kwa sababu tumechagua delegates ama tutakuwa tunatumia delegates, haimaanishi kila kitu itakuwa inafanyika pale kwa ADM. Kuna mambo mengine ambayo sheria imeona ni muhimu sana, lazima tuachie members kwa grassroots. So mambo haya matano lazima tutauliza members. Ya kwanza, tukisema hii zako yetu tumechoka nayo, let us dissolve it. Let us liquidate our sacco. Kila mtu rudishie pesa yake, tuende kule tunaenda. Delegates cannot decide for you. You must make your decision by yourself as a member. So we must come back to you. And you might find that in that discussion, some people will say, yes, I want to go. Some people will say, no, we are staying. The people who want to go, they'll be ushered what? So, dissolution or liquidation of the Sacco, voluntary liquidation. Voluntary because, you know, there might be situations ambazo a society is forced to liquidate. If you see some of these organizations that are struggling out here, some of them are being forced to liquidate. So if it is voluntary, members feel they want to close this circle, it is members that must decide. You cannot leave the delegates to make that decision. Pili, amalgamation of division. Amalgamation is where two circles decide they want to come together. Labda NRS na K unit wamesema, hey, tushikane mkono, tuendelee kama sako moja, tujiite NRSK unity sako. We cannot force you. The delegates cannot decide for you. You must decide by yourself. And if you decide you want to be in that arrangement, you will transition into the new organization. If you decide you don't want, you will be told, okay, here's your money, you go and do other things. Division also. If we decide now we want to split, so watu Wangige wanaona, sisi tunaweza fanya mambo yetu peke yetu, hatutaki kuendelea na wale wengine. If you decide you want to do secession, Wangige si NRS. You remember Mombasa sio Kenya. You decide by yourselves. Somebody cannot decide for you. If you want to change the core business or the objects of the Sacco, kwa mfano, we are savings and credit. So let us say you want to change from NRS Sacco to NRS Investment Cooperative. So we are changing the objects for this cooperative society of ours. The delegates don't decide. Members are the ones who do what? Decide. Maanake, kuna yule ambaye aliingia hapa kwa sababu walikuwa nataka njia ya kupata mkopo in a way that is affordable. So if you transition to investment, now you're not meeting their needs anymore. Again, formation or liquidation of subsidiaries. You might do investment to the point that you form a subsidiary, or if you have a subsidiary, you decide we want to close this thing. Members must decide, and also if you want to acquire majority shareholding or take over some entity, again, within the framework of investment, it is the members must decide. So the board will not make that decision by themselves. The delegates hawataamua peke yao. Lazima members wote waulizwe jinsi ambavyo wanaona mnaweza fanya. So vetting process. You will apply, whether it is to be a delegate or a director. You apply. Your application, you can take to the nearest branch or take to the CEO's office by the deadline of application. Tumesema kwamba they'll be looking at your statements to understand your savings. So the last 12 months, and of course, there'll be an official nomination register. Kuna mahitaji ambayo mtakuwa mmeambiwa lazima mfanye nini? Mjaze. ID, nomination form, academic or professional qualification, certificate of good conduct, na labda other vetting requirements. Ultimately, mkumbuke, one member, one vote. It does not matter your shareholding. That is one of the principles of cooperatives when we talk about being equal. You're one member, one vote. Then, kwa zonal meeting, every member must exercise their right to elect delegates to represent their interests at society level. Na ukichaguliwa kama delegate, kumbuka, Yes, you have your personal opinion, but this is about representing the people who have elected you. And also, in the general meeting, the delegates, you're casting votes on behalf of your zone so that you can discuss critical issues. So there's no voting by proxy. One delegate cannot send another delegate to cast a vote for him. Kama umechaguliwa kama delegate, you must be there to do what? To represent the people who elected you. You cannot send another delegate to represent or to do things on your behalf. Commitment to excellence. So here we are saying, if you're chosen, please make sure you ensure transparent, representative, and accountable governance within NRS Sacco. Compliance. You must make sure you understand what the law is saying. Actually, for the people who will be elected as delegates hapa NRS Sacco, ni muhimu muelewe zile sheria ambazo mnafaa kufuata. In running this organization, kumbuka nilisema, you are registered under the Cooperative Societies Act, but you are licensed under the Sacco Act. So you must understand what the Sacco Act talks about and what the regulations 2010 talk about, because a lot of your decision making is going to tie back to what those ones are saying. But also, part of why that education ni muhimu ni kwa sababu kila delegate anaweza kuwa director. We do not want a situation whereby you are elected and then you start the process of doing what? Of learning. And also, there's supposed to be a fair system of representation. So, tumesema kwamba your distribution of delegates is based on the size of the branch. You want to have more representation, you work hard so that you have many more people representing you. So ultimately, this is in summary. The delegates meetings is supreme decision making. You hold the highest authority in NRS Sacco. You have the right to vote and deliberate on issues touching on this organization. You are the people who are making decisions about this Sacco, and those laws that I have talked about zinasema kwamba lazima mkuwe na ADM kabla mwisho wa mwezi wa 4. That gives you a very tight window. Remember, right now you have not yet held that AGM. We are looking for delegates from amongst you. So very quickly, those of you who are interested must do what? Apply. So that we have delegates who are going to be able to hold the meeting before the end of April this year. So zonal meetings at our foundation, we must call you, give you 15 days notice before any zone meeting, any of the zones that we are having, so that we can deal with whatever is supposed to happen in the zonal meetings. They're like local assemblies, and in these zones, we make resolutions. Those resolutions are going to be discussed in the annual delegates meeting. Finally, as a delegate, there are certain things that you must do. Remember, if you are chosen as a delegate, you are the bridge between the Sacco board and the members. We need you. When you unaelewa kwa ground kunaendaje. We don't want to be surprised. So, what we are saying, you do things around governance and member representation. And here, we are saying, you represent members of your zone at the ADM. 2, you disseminate our policies. Because wakati utaenda kwa ADM, we are going to make certain decisions. Once we have made those decisions are likely to affect our relationship with members. So, delegate, one of the things the delegate is supposed to do is to inform our membership about specific rules, procedures, bylaws, policies, strategy, what is going on. Then, regulatory compliance. We have said that one of the things delegates lazima waelewe is what is going on with regard to the Cooperative Societies Act, the Sacco Act, the rules, the bylaws, so that when decisions are being made, they are in accordance. It would be very good if a delegate can ask, hey, I'm seeing you people want to do this, but it might create a state of non-compliance. It means you understand. So you must make sure that when we make decisions, they are in compliance with the law. but also around growth and community engagement. Tumesema kwamba the number of delegates you have is tied directly to the number of active members we have. So growth and recruitment. Kama delegate, ukichaguliwa kama delegate, please, you market NRS Sacco. Kumbuka, you're not just a member in NRS Sacco, you are also a shareholder. A shareholder means you are part of the people who own this business. Sijui kama kuna mtu ambaye akasema leo nataka niangushe hii biashara yangu. You're going to work there and you say I want it to collapse. I have never met any such person. Because you own shares. Wakati wa AGM, ni nini tunapenda kusikia? Tunapenda kusikia mambo ya dividends, sivyo? So, how do you think dividends are going to come? Dividends will come when there are many people who are saving, and they are borrowing, they are repaying. So, growth and recruitment. We must actively, as delegates, if you'll be one of the delegates, you have to play a role to help us to market this organization. It can become a tragedy kama tutapata kwamba we are within this area. Another circle from a different area comes here, starts recruiting and becomes bigger than us. Ni kama uko na shamba alafu jirani ameanza kukata na umenyamaza tu. Umenyamaza tu. Yeye anakata ananyamaza, unanyamaza tu. Siku moja utapata amefika wapi? Kwa mlango. So we have to make sure that we are growing. Coordination. Kuna mambo ambayo tutakuwa tunafanya kwa zones zetu. Kwa mfano, kama tuko na delegates na tuko na mkutano kama hii, delegates are part of the people wenye wanafaa kutusaidia kufanya nini? Kumobilize members. Kama tuko na education ya members kwa zone yetu, delegates need to help us to mobilize our members. If we have an initiative, a marketing initiative, delegates are the ones who are supposed to do what? To make sure that they are helping us to coordinate so that we can promote a positive image. You can imagine, kama delegates wetu ndio hawana shughuli na yale mambo ambayo tunajaribu kufanya kama society. They are the ones who are supposed to be helping us and they are not interested. Other people in society will not be interested. So if you will be elected to be a delegate, you need to help us with regard to coordination. Support your directors and also continuous development. Every once in a while, NRS Sacco is going to organize education forums for these delegates. Maanake tumesema, kila delegate is a potential director. So if you happen to be chosen as a delegate, and there is a training that has been organized for delegates, then dear delegate, please make sure you attend, because that is part of the succession planning. These guys who have been elected, even them, they know they will not hold these positions forever. They are just trying to do the best they can within the time that you have given them. And you have given them 3 years at a time. So if a training is organized for delegates and you are chosen to be a delegate, please make sure you do what? You attend. Ni hayo tu. Sina mambo mengine.
Thank you, Bwana Eric. And maybe before you sit, I would want to attract questions. Nafasi hii nataka tuingie kwa maswali kutoka kwenyu. Mike, please. Kuna mahali hatukuelewa ama tunahitaji ufafanuzi? Areas of concern? Ama kuna mahali mngependa turudie kidogo? You see, this forum are the easy forums to understand mambo ya Sacco, as opposed to the AGM. Hapa tuko watu kidogo, tunaweza ulizana maswali na tuweze kuelewana. So, please, tuulizane maswali. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is John Wangige. I'm a member of NRS Sacco. I have a personal and a business account with NRS Sacco. My question is, suppose you are elected as a director, you don't meet the threshold. Do you have again to go back to a meeting, or is the people in the delegation committee that will elect another director to replace your position? That was not clear.
Any other question? So, to answer your question, members will meet and pick delegates, okay? Like now in Wangige, we know we are looking for 32, isn't it? Here we go. So let's say we are looking for 32 delegates here. Then you happen to be chosen to be a director. From the 32, we know we need to pick some 2 directors, isn't it? To be a director, you need to have saved 500,000 Kenya shillings, and your share capital needs to be 40,000, isn't it? Let us say you're meeting everything else, because a lot of this criteria thing is going to revolve around finance, all right? So we are going to inform the delegates that, look, our allocation is 32 delegates, we have 32 delegates. Our allocation in the directorship is 2 directors. Maybe only 1 person has met, or maybe 10 people have met, but none of the 10 people is interested in being a director, all right? That complication might be brought by, there are things going on in the Cooperative Societies Act. We will get into that another time. Hopefully when I meet you as delegates. I look forward to it. But let us say from our 32 delegates, we do not have anybody who has either 500,000 shillings or 40,000. Maybe somebody has 40,000 in share capital, but has not reached the 500,000. So what we are saying is this: there will be no vacuum. We will have a discussion and we'll tell the delegates, you have to find one amongst you to be a director, with the understanding that whoever is chosen has got a period of 1 year to do what? To raise their savings to the level of 500,000. If the 1 year passes and that person has not reached the 500,000, we are not giving them a second chance. We are looking for somebody else. Are we on the same page? You go back to the eligibility criteria, but we have to go back to the delegates and tell them, look, you gave us Eric to be a director for 1 year. We had agreed that Eric must meet the criteria for directorship within 1 year, isn't it? 1 year has passed, Eric has not yet met the criteria. So now, because Eric has not met the criteria, those of you who are meeting the criteria, is there any one of you who is willing to do what? To be a director. Ultimately, you want to encourage those people who are meeting the criteria to express interest in those positions so that you don't have those vacuums. But we are just saying, if we wake up and we find that somehow the people who have met the criteria are not interested, or there is nobody who is meeting the criteria anyway, then let us just pick somebody so that there is no vacuum. But the somebody must understand they only have 1 year to make sure they meet the criteria for directorship. If the 1 year ends, they don't stop being a delegate, but they do stop being a director because they have not fulfilled the requirements within that 1 year. And so we give somebody else a chance to try and fill that position. Now, the somebody who is going to be given the chance, they also have 1 year to make sure they do what? They meet the criteria. But becoming a director doesn't mean that now they are starting a 3-year term. They are just finishing the remaining 2 years for whoever had failed to meet the criteria. So that is the way it is going to be. So in fact, I will tell you, if you are eligible to be a delegate, you just work towards meeting the criteria for a director anyway, so that it becomes easy. All right? Yes. Any other question? Yes, sir.
I'm Jambo.
Atujambo.
I'm asking, being a director or a delegate, you have said it's 3 years.
Yes.
Is it a one-time thing?
I knew the question was coming. Now,
my name is John Joroge.
John Joroge. Somebody's recording. Now, Bwana Njoroge, being a delegate does not have term limits. Unachaguliwa miaka 3, unaweza rudi watu wakisema uendelee na kazi. Being a director is likely to be tricky, and it might arise. Remember we said that there's something that is going on in the law. So because the question has come, let me address it. There have been certain developments in the cooperative sector over the last 2-3 years. And these 2-3 years, people are trying to introduce term limits. Zamani kulikuwa na term limits. You couldn't be a director for more than 2 years, 2 terms rather. But the people at that time, in their wisdom, waliona, we seemed to be missing out on a lot of good leaders because the 6 years was ending very quickly. All right? Na wakasema tutoe term limits, as long as members wamesema uendelee, ufanye nini? Uendelee. There's a proposal in Parliament. The Cooperative Societies Act is presently being reviewed. One of the things they're trying to reintroduce is the term limits. The law has not yet been signed. So as it stands today, there is still no term limit. Which means if you get tired of a leader, you tell them to do what? To step aside. All right? So for directorship, there is also no term limit as of today. We are waiting to see what the law, how that law will come, because between, with all those processes from committee stage to report stage to the readings and all that, before it gets to presidential assent, there are certain things that must happen, and you cannot implement before it has actually been signed to a law. So currently there's no term limit.
Morning. My name is Charles. I'm a member of this Sacco. My question is, for a delegate, if you don't have enough money, you have told the criteria you will follow. But I mean, for director. Now, for delegate, if I don't have enough money, can I be given the same opportunity? Let's say after 1 year, I must have the required.
Thank you, sir. For delegates, we are not, your bylaws and your election policy are not giving the same leeway, because it might open for a lot of indiscipline. Remember, one of the things you're looking for is people who are showing commitment to the organization. So you must at the very least show commitment for being a delegate first. So for delegates, let us look for the people who are really showing the commitment, have put in the 20 and the 200. Let me tell you why. For an ordinary member, the minimum share capital is what? 3. For somebody to push from 3,000 to 17,000, I mean to 20,000, ametoa the extra 17. Hiyo ni mtu amejitolea. And remember, we are saying that you're not just a customer, you are a shareholder. So you are showing that you are owning. And it is from this crop of people who you're likely to pick directors. So you also don't want to have a situation whereby somebody who has not met the delegateship requirements gets into becoming a delegate, happens to become a director. Now the gap between where they are and where they need to be becomes extremely steep within a period of 1 year. So that is why we're saying, for the delegates, because you don't want a vacuum in the leadership, you will make sure that that person works hard to bridge the gap. But for delegates transition to directors, you will give the 1 year. But for somebody to become a delegate, let us just try to show the commitment from the word go. I don't know if you have interacted with pastoralist communities. When we are discussing where to put a cattle dip, do you put it near the person with many cows or the person with 1 cow? It is easier to place it. Well, you want it in a central point as much as possible, isn't it? Yes. So if you give the person with 1 cow too much leeway, you end up punishing others. So you want, if you're going to be a delegate, at least meet the delegateship criteria. But remember, because every delegate is a potential director, you do not want this person now to have to climb too steeply, because there might be that much more of a gap. So for you to be a delegate, just meet the criteria. Any other question?
Don't you think it's a bit biased for the criteria that you have set up for the delegates? Don't you think the criteria you have set up for the selection of the delegates, because we have members here who don't have such qualifications, but they are founding members,
Which qualifications specifically? Is it around
especially
the
on
money?
education?
On education.
Yes.
Now, you're looking for Form 4, isn't it? Basically, you're looking for Form 4. The question is not about what you got in Form 4. The question is, did you reach Form 4, isn't it? By a show of hands, how many people here? No, I don't want to ask that question like that. Let me go about it differently. Why are we looking for Form 4? Let's begin there. You're a regulated society. As a regulated society, there are certain stakeholder relationships you have to manage. Part of managing those relationships with those stakeholders involves a fair bit of communication between you and that stakeholder. One of these stakeholders is the commissioner's office. The other stakeholder is the bank. The other stakeholder is your regulator. The person I'm worried about here is your regulator, because your regulator is saying that correspondences between me and you are going to be, one, in a specific language, and two, you need to be able to read what is in that correspondence, and three, you need to be able to understand and to respond to the things I am saying. So you might not have a qualification in finance, but at the very least you need to be able to conceptualize this thing that I'm trying to communicate with you. And that is why there is that requirement. Now, I understand the potential difficulty, because sometimes when we are setting up these sorts of things, we set up criteria that might not work for us. And I can give you two examples. One of the things that is in the Cooperative Societies Act says, if you hold a political office at any level, you cannot be a leader in a cooperative society, isn't it? Now, if you go next to, you know where Harambee Sacco is? In Nairobi. Hii roundabout ya kuenda, ile ni Haile Selassie Avenue, si ndio? Si kuna konga na Harambee na ukulima. Ukipiga kona, you're going towards a roundabout, then you reach Parliament. Before that roundabout, there's a new building that was put up. In that building, you will find something called Parliamentarian Sacco. So MPs, governors, senators, women reps, and some people from the office of the president have formed their Sacco. Sasa pale, kama members wote ni MP, the law is saying if you hold a political office, you cannot hold Sacco leadership. What does it mean? Where will their leaders come from? It means the commissioner can give a waiver on the stipulation that you cannot hold what? You cannot hold political office for that particular organization. Two, there is, let us say that everybody in NRS Sacco did not go to school. Hakuna mtu alienda shule. Na tushikane kama watu wa NRS tutengeneze nini? Sacco yetu, sivyo? Does it mean we can't find a leader among us if we are saying KCSE? No, by necessity we must, isn't it? But you see, if you have that situation, you must write to the commissioner to say, our membership have not gone to school, allow us to do what? To waive this particular requirement. I would like to think in this room, in fact, listening to your English, surely you must have reached Form 4. So, it depends on the situation, but the regulator would very much like to have people who have reached that level. Sometimes it is not possible, and that is why they insist that if you have that gap in the governance, you must make sure the people who are employed meet these things. But ultimately, the board bears responsibility, And so it is important to have board members who understand. I think within the circles for what is it called? Within the circles of education, I think there are provisions where nowadays people are also being assisted to go to school, even if it is outside the normal calendar that was there. But nonetheless, the idea is that you want to have people who are at the very least able to read, write, understand, conceptualize, and respond, particularly when handling certain stakeholders, especially your regulator. So that is where that is coming from. If you read the model bylaws on the SASRA website, this is a public resource you can get, www.sasra.go.ke. Okay? There's a place where you will see DT Saccos. Under DT Saccos, you will see resources. One of the things you will see is model bylaws. Download that thing. You read it. Read the section that talks about qualifications or eligibility for board membership. You will see one of the things that they are requesting is that you at least have KCSE level of education. So it is not necessarily put there to be punitive or discriminatory, or it is not put to the exclusion of others. It is just so that you are able as an organization to fit in and slot into the regulated framework as comfortably as possible. Please remember, it is not about what grade you got. It is just about having the certificate. Because I went into a place and I ran into that problem. Just by the way, there was another question that came up in Kino. It has not come up here. Kuna mtu aliuliza swali ya gender. Okay? Looking at your board, you don't have a problem with gender. Is it possible that we can run into gender headwinds? Yes. We need to encourage people of both genders to do what? To apply. You can't force. Remember, you cannot do what? You cannot compel either gender to apply. And I gave the example. One time I was doing something in a place called Tigania. There's a circle called Tigania Women's Circle. Who are the board members? Are they male or are they female? If all the members are female, where do you get a male board member? Hakuna. Does anybody complain about gender in Tigania Women's Circle? I'm not justifying that if you end up with an all-male membership, it's okay. I'm saying let us encourage everybody to do what? To make sure that they express an interest. Because both genders see things through different lenses. When we are making decisions, you want to make sure that everybody's voice was what? Was heard. And hearing your voice is going to begin right at the bottom where you have your members giving your decisions. So let us make sure that we all participate so that by the time things are being transmitted up here in the board, everybody's point of view has at least been seen. Anyone else? Any question? Feel free. There's no bad question. If you also have a question outside of what we have discussed, I'm still going to be around. So you might have a general question on the Sacco Society. Bado nitakuwa, but thank you so much for your time. I know we asked people to come early. You might not have taken breakfast. That is why the sugar levels have gone low. But nonetheless, thank you so much. Remember, you're potentially our ambassadors. Make sure you disseminate this information to those others. We're looking for 32 delegates, 30 additional delegates from amongst our number. So you help us to raise this number so that we can hold our annual delegates meeting. But also, remember, being a delegate is important because you're our ambassador, you're part of the governance structure, and you can help us do many wonderful things, but you're also a potential director. So there are very many things that you'll be able to do. There are very many doors that can open if you decide to take this route of being a delegate. Asanteni sana, you have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Eric. At this point, I would like to say that having been invited today, we are all potential delegates. And being a delegate, you're a potential director, isn't it? So understanding is key. So when Eric insists on understanding on the key areas of being a delegate, is very, very important at this point. Because I do not think that we'll have any other sitting to discuss what we have discussed today. So we will get forms today being given to us to fill in, and I think that will be done by Kigoro. Equally, if you feel that you don't want to ask any areas that you're not understanding in that particular form, we shall guide you. Now, I would want to maybe not leave anything behind, because there's a member who's asked about the Form 4 requirement, and I did ask Eric to show the eligibility. Apart from that particular area, is there other area that you don't want us to expound on? Ile ambayo imeandikwa pale, tuiangalie vizuri. Finance, personal and integrity. Kuna mahali mungependa tufafanue zaidi? Okay, so I assume that silence means that tumeelewa sisi wote. So ningependa niite Bwana Kariuki GK aje give us some remarks. And akifanya hivyo, ningependa mmoja wetu awe tayari aweze kutufungia mkutano na maombi from the membership. So karibu Bwana Kariuki for the remarks and the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, Bwana MC. It's almost afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Kariuki Juguna. I am a board member. Currently, I'm representing Kikuyu because of this transition. I used to be in Delhi, but because we have to balance, and because of opening the great branch, we had to relocate some of the representation. I would like to highlight some of the issues for us to be able to understand that as at the close of the financial year, our society was nearing 1 billion, meaning maybe as we close this year, we shall be classified at Tier 1, and Tier 1 comes with a lot of regulations because of the growth of the society. Our own book is nearly 650 million, and way back from 250. I think the time we joined the board in 2020, we found it at 250. So there is that growth, and you have to ensure that the reason why we are going the delegate way is that previously kulikuwa na representation ya watu wawili kama hapa Wangige, kulikuwa Mr. Kuria and Mr. John Muturi. And when we get 30 delegates, another 30 delegates, it means that the decision in terms of the growth of the society will be a little bit very easy. So I would request that we should not shy off. Let us get this document. Let us get this document for application. let us submit each and every document such that Wangige is not left behind. We started the journey with Dagoretti, whereby we have gotten the applications from Dagoretti. In fact, it is oversubscribed. And then we went to Derry. Derry, we are also pushing them for applications. Then we went to Kino. Kino other forms ziliisha kwa hall. And we would also like to sensitize in this branch that let us encourage our members, despite all those odds, because of the regulation from the regulator. I would also like to highlight on top of what our Vice Dictator Eric has highlighted. NRS is a deposit taking. And a deposit taking, there is those regulations at the regulation 2010, the SASRA Act, and also we also follow what we call CAP 490 of the Cooperative Act, where we report to the Commissioner for Cooperatives. At SASRA, we report to the regulator, who is also our regulator, who licenses us. We submit each and every report to the regulator by 15th of each and every month. That's why the facilitator has highlighted that for you to be a director, you must also understand the business, such that usiulizwe what is statement of financial position, hutaelewa, si unaona? But we should also not shy over, because even if you are new, we shall also be able to educate you through the delegate forum. And at the delegate forum, we shall also be sensitizing in terms of education. We shall equip the 162 delegates, such that they will be also equal to task, such that we do not resort to where we were in 2019. 2019, the entire board was voted out, and even if there was no vacuum, at least if we go the delegate way, delegate will be getting watakuwa anapata hiyo masomo. Na nikuaria ginya gikuha niguo tuhote ku understand. Nituri maheaga githomo kiria gikite atia kiagiriire niguo mundu akamenya product citu cihana atia, akamenya society operator atia, niguo tugakorwo ni turakorwo twi ambassadors kwi members aria angi na tukama represent uria kwagiriire. Then there will be these zonal meetings. These zonal meetings, they will be for branches. Tutirithia gore turathiate tugasemania kuria Gikuyu. Andu a Wangige maricemanagia Wangige, makaria maundu mao, makandika higo twathi delegate meeting, makarehe tukoiga Wangige turenda ABCD. Hande twina challenges. How can we be able to solve these challenges? For example, tuge atiriri, Wangige have got the strength because of the market. Simona kuko na soko. There's a part of members wengi ni wa soko, and they are getting challenges, and we really reach members wa soko hapa, such that we are able to formulate products zenye zitafit watu wa soko. Tukienda Dagoretti, soko ni bili. Kuko na soko ya kawaida na kuko na, for example, soko ya nyama kule Kichijio. What the people of Kichijio likuwa ya ng'ombe mwe yumaga akwe ngiri na ria 20. Koguo ri niguo te guthija ng'ombe ri nitoginya korwo ina capital ikiria iguru ota mundu ri rendia waru guku thoko. Those are the things we need to highlight. Niguo tukahota to customize each and every product. The other thing I would also like to highlight, this is the best way. Power belongs to the people. Through the delegate way, instead of going the 12, the way the board members were 9 and 3 as 12, delegates forms the larger group system of management. We are nearing that 1 billion. Na tuna members giri 12. Tukione twetana mucemanio uria twetanaga ri, secretary witu wa board agetana mucemanio ri, tutiramenya atiriri andu aya ngiri 12 ri megukaigana. No, finally, the largest number of membership who has attended the AGM, it was in 2024, where we got a registered number of 476. Then we went ahead to kigia neturahota go transmit information ino na tugo YouTube ine after this ne mogociona wathi through the zone meeting ya wagine kumiona wathi YouTube ine ugerie go click NRS ne kuona ginya forum icio igura cithiete, because you have to record, we have to ensure that we also submit the report to the commissioner, to the regulator, that we have educated our members. So don't let us down, make the applications, and we know that Wangige have got the potential. It has got the potential, and it have got also, in fact, it is number 2. In terms of active members, Wangige is number 2. Kikuyu is number 1, Dedi is number 3, Kino is number 4, and lastly, Dagureti, I'm not saying it is last, it is our newest branch. And we shall support this entire issue. I've been seeing the time you are doing the retirement in terms of rotation, a lot of, we get a lot of applications. And majority, I can see some of the contestants who had been here, who had applied before are here. This is the good time. You got the chance, make the application. It will be considered such that we get what it requires for this branch. So, Mary, I hope you have given them, the members the forms, and the deadline is on 28th. The deadline is on 28th. Our last zonal meeting will be on Friday. It will be on Wednesday next week for Kikuyu. Then from there, we shall take it to the panel. It is not the directors who are checking what you have applied. Let me be clear on this. It is the director of cooperatives, Kiambu, through representation. Now, we had invited her, but she has sent the apology because I think she's attending an AGM somewhere. The societies need to conduct their AGMs. Plus, members of our senior management, through money application here, and because we are bound by the data protection policy, document our officers have signed what we call the data protection policy. They abide with it, and also have also signed the oath of office and confidentiality. As the treasurer of the board, then it is a bia. You are the Heoroni. To credit in my city down. Yoka finance department. Tommy Saina on a documenta member XY at Aguatia. Dikan and Morajita how? Koduka with ticket on Hanini, Quaprai, all your documentation will also be protected. Then the other issue, I would also like to give vote of thanks as requested by our vice chair, and also congratulate our vice chair. The vice chair, Mr. J.M., is the one in charge of education committee as the chair. The bylaw is very clear that the vice chair of the society becomes the chair for education. Education ni rutaga wiro wa guthomithia members ni thondekaga product. Ni thondekaga product iko igatiriri tore turathondekire. Right now ni turaheana roni na tugikombithia roni rwa asset. Na ndiko market ya market haha. Tugukombithia roni urihe na miaka 3 turakuhe na interest ya 1.2. Sinukweli JM. Ugikira miaka 3 Odi mieri 60 miaka 5 niguturigana 1.5. We also rotate on this committee of JM and Joyce and Jane. Ne mararuta wira wa product development uri kwagiriire niguo makarora marathi ground makamenya atiriri niki members mara complain. So those suggestion boxes that are in our branches indicate what is ailing a certain branch. Kana urero hari ona hatirathiwe wega guti mundu accessaga, it is the CEO na vice chair neo accessaga maka analyze magatora ki board ini tukarora tukona andu mahatirika ni undu wa interest tukagoithia na tukoigatiriri yorakomba miaka mingi na yorakomba miaka minini megure yorakomba na miaka 3 1.2 yorakomba na miaka 3 kwabata na iguru up to 60 months tontoyana nginya miaka 5 tukoigana 1.5. How ithe tutirageria koguo delegates mari ukaga tugateithania wira uriku tukona product ino turenda guthondeka product ino ni yatuhatiriria tugeka atia tukamea mendi uri agiriire na andu magakorwo ni mahota guteithika. So vice chair, thank you very much and your team. Na igora nao mathondeka product icio, I chair the administration committee, ICT and HR. Tumekaga sure ati na niyo responsible ya kuga members maheo dividend na interest on deposit. Na tukarora atiriri tuheo budget igano, how are we going to finance that budget? So we have to push to give out more loans such that we get a lot of income and from the interest the members pay. Then from there nigo tugacoka kuhe members dividend. And we agreed as a board and through as the delegate system also as we come. Dividend ya dumatietagira mweri wena. Come 1st of February every year, God willing, to create a policy in at delegates matamitete urikoragwo wina dividend ciaku uria wonaga Safaricom kana kambuni ici ingi kana Equity ni maririzaga dividend andu mariage ona matingite mathabu. That is what we have agreed as a board, and we want this journey to be assisted by the delegates, and we work together. Tauni tureketie mathabu twetereire commissioner na mundu gwitwo regulator tumwe feedback niguo tugie na AGM ire gukorwo e mweri wena ugiuka kwambiriria. The other issue I would also like to say is that on behalf of the board of directors and the management, I would like to sincerely thank our facilitator, Mr. Eric, for your informative session, and for our members of our Wangige branch, whereby they have also raised and asked some questions. We are very grateful for how you have presented. You are to the point, and at least you are so much elaborate. And I think as we agreed, and as we requested you, we are going to work with this journey together, such that you are able to be educating our members for them to be able to understand their rights and also know how exactly what is really happening in terms of the corporate world as far as NRS is concerned. I would also like to thank for the members who have gotten this chance to attend this forum. And let me say that it's a good number. You have really tried. We would like to thank all of you simply because togetanire murege gukari thikigoro kuru empty mwathi amaira manyu muoka nendo wakunania you are able to patronize this society, so receive our vote of thanks. The other vote of thanks I would also like to thank the board members. When this issue came and the circular came, on a circular okete, we had sought to go delegate way, the delegates way, tontuonaga na tweta na musemanio, and urakora andu aingi matihota gwika atia matihota guka issue iria tukuhota ku address wakora de addresseka tondu ngi mundu aroka kuria administrative ke nigi mundu no imiro ni tondu da qualify no ka kuria ke AGM ini mundu imoro ni ri ire ndari guthi ku CEO akoria no imoro ni ke na tutigukiheana mundu thai na ke ugituhe brothi hena example ya utheri wa rari kuria mathai mahuranaga ni tukumioya tutikumioya tondu mugunda ucio definitely tutingihota ku access no anyita no gituhe brothi ya haha Wangige utuhe ya mai mahiu utuhe ya kundu within kundu kuria pa ithu tuigugika atia ni tukumioya. So nikio tuonire ni wega uthi maundu macio mangi au hangi. I would also like to encourage and also thank each and every member on Odetanoka because of the support they had been giving us. You have really supported us, and let me say that and NRS is in good hearts. Todo as we near a billion, Narun Bukuno igure kurete. Niko nani and tota go patronize society or kwagire to more encourage. We have the facilities they are customized. Kogu omogeria na nyugu ko muyabazi das. Na nitokora go twina commission whereby I think each and every, if you bring a member, na member be go save, we give you 500 shillings. Ya go synthesize ni ro okoro ya na meeting na mu member ocio na hote guka kogu I introduce mundu mwire andike I was introduced by so and so member XYZ na if possible ona andike namba yake ya thimu hau. Our accounts department is very vibrant. Our marketing department is also very vibrant. Nitugwitia sigisho 500 takana tugikire account ini yaku ni undu wa go sensitize na gikorwo ni hari utari wa heo commission iyo nene arehete member na ni andikite one our operations manager Madam Mary come forward kaidre nigo members makuone nigo hote gukorwo giteithia members. Lastly but not least, I would also like to thank Mr. Geoffrey Simama tafadhali, and Mr. Wawelo. Mr. Geoffrey ni mwalimu. Na ikiwa kuna mtu ananisukumaga as finance chair in terms of how this branch will be, it is Mr. Kuria. Mr. Kuria arehete members. Ikidotera members ya Mr. Kuria arehete since Mr. Kuria joined the society as a board member. Arehete makeria ma members kedo 78. Adamaga haha Catholic ya 78. I'm sure. 78. Thank you, Mr. Kuria. And let us walk this journey and don't get tired tafadhali. Usaidie members wa Wangige. Wangige iko inaenda chini in 2020. na tumeiamsha vile inastahili. Naye Mr. Waweru is also a very good ambassador. He's the youngest person in our board, very young in terms of age, and also ajakaa kwa society. In fact, he's almost getting three years in the society. He's also a very good ambassador. Ametuletea the young generation. Here go to the statistics. Thank you, Mr. Waweru. Tukoona andũ arĩa 40 years and above ni waingĩ mũno. Tukaga the younger generation. We pushed the education committee. Let us get the Gen Z. Ndĩtiguo ciana citũ. Nĩguo tũgakĩona ati society rĩ ũrĩa ĩrathiĩ he andũ megũka thutha makinya maya. Thank you, Mr. Waweru. He's in charge of the young generation. Na hiyo nĩyo responsibility tũmũhete. Agĩrĩire gũpatronize nĩguo ciana citũ cigĩe na kĩndũ gĩgwĩtwo atĩa? Gĩtagwo exposure. So, because you represent Wangige, work very hard to ensure that members of Wangige benefit. If we have vacancy and we advertise, let us spread the issues of HR to branches. We consider our members and our members' children. How did you know about? I attended that forum because I chair the HR committee that is in charge of recruitment. How do you know about NRS? 60% of our HR, it should come within the locality where branches are situated. Now we consider our members. Go in a moana, internship, or go in a moana, we get ICT, we get them out of Maria Mage, Niarika Dukuru, Naniaka Kuru, all the internship, come to the office of the CEO. I attest internship, we also give that consideration because the society belongs to the members. Without you members, we are not able to do anything. Lastly, I would also like to thank our members of staff and the members of staff, including the members of staff management. Today I had an apology of our CEO, and mwena wa Meru na nitukumũrũgamĩrĩra and let me say mũtigae kũrigwo nĩ kĩmũtarakĩona na CEO nĩ ndĩona mũngai harĩa nĩ arigwo nĩ kĩcio atarĩ kuo. I know they are good friends, koguo nĩkĩo atanahota gũka na nĩtũmũrepresentĩte na njĩra ĩrĩa yagĩrĩire. So our members of staff are committed and let us interact with them. Let us also share, mũtigae kũmetigagĩra wathi kũrĩa wabici mwĩre ũrenda rũni rwa mbia ici nĩguo kana tiguo akũgaidi okeke appraisal nĩkĩo nie tũhotie kũgũra ngari ya gũthikia kũrĩa ndoro-inĩ ĩkaingĩra gĩka appraisal ũrĩa kwagĩrĩire atĩa kwagĩrĩire. Otherwise we are very grateful for even attending this forum, and may God bless NRS, and let the NRS, we pray through God, it will go to greater heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bwana Kariuki. Tumpigie makofi. Bwana Kariuki is a very good orator and the chair of finance. Thank you very much. Now, tutafunga mkutano na ningeomba ma'am, okay, tuhoithie uo tuhote kuhiga mshamanio.
Tumukumia Yesu Kristo. Neno wa Yesu roka ni muga to dikiraga na kajitima digikira na digyo itariki to jayo ni kwali makiria ni gucokeria Ngai ngatho ni haria aturutite na haria atukinyitie to ndaigua githomo twathomithio guo tugakiuga atiriri ondu na ihinda ria na tutingirega ithuĩ twarĩ hĩndĩ ya akũrũ rĩu gũkinyĩte ningĩ nĩ mwanengerwo gĩthomo kĩu mwanengerwo kĩa ũguo twathomithio nĩ mwanake ũyũ mwĩtĩkĩre gũkĩruta wĩra na arĩa tũkũhe wĩra Ngai amamenyerere na amahe ũũgĩ na makĩria kiugo itatigaga mũndũ etigĩre kĩ atĩ rĩrĩa yothe ũraikara thĩ gũcira ndeto cia mũndũ gĩtĩ kĩrĩa gĩkĩ gũikarĩire gĩkĩ kĩna kĩrumi na kĩrathi tondũ ndĩohire mũthiori ndeima ndarehe teni yakwa hau koguo kanyamu kau gekwenda kumenyererwo Kariuki na niwe kuma tene ndi namba 1100 koguo haria tumite mukite inyuothe ndamurora inyuothe mukite mugatukoroha na tukwira Ngai ni wega tondu ni Ngai kwenda gwake nikio ndamuhoera na nguhoya roho wa Ngai umurithie na umumenyerere andu aria tukuhe delegate icio tondu ithu tutigugithie turi akuru mwitigire ki na inye mugutongoria mwitigire ki na turutitwo na kau kanitha ratwirire tukihakwo muhu andu magie na wendo no kiraniriria na gwicirania meciria mega andu mecirania meciria wiciria ucio tondu weciria ucio ngi Ngai no muhaka kurathimage nikio reke ituhoe na gitwa ithena ria mwana na ria mutheri gutuike guo mwathani twainamia mothiu mbere yaku giti-ini kiu kionene Ngai kiu wainamirwo ni athuri 24 makiuga wi mutheru mwathani ona ithuĩ twainamia mothiu maitu twaiga wi mutheru Ngai wi mutheru Ngai na nikio ndiraneana ciana ici citu moko-ini maku rucini rwa umuthi mwathani ndimaneana ni tondu wa ndumiriri uyu yoka na icenjetie uria tugutwarithia kiama giki mwathani kana kundu guothe iria ciama igũthiĩ na mbere mwathani tũraiga atongoria othe mwathani moko-ini maku Ngai maririkanage atĩ wĩ hakuhĩ nao hĩndĩ ciothe Ngai magĩtua matua magũtongoria andũ aya nyinyi mwathani matue matua ma andũ kũiganania tondũ gũtirĩ mũthĩi na gũtirĩ gĩtonga ithuothe mwathani tũngĩikara na kwendana ithuothe gũtirĩ mũndũ ũngĩkorwo mũhinyĩrĩrie mwathani nĩ wega na nĩ thengiũ nĩ ũndũ wa mũthenya ũmũthĩ mwathani nĩ watũhe chance ya gũka gũkũ mwathani nĩ wega reke maũndũ marĩa twaigua Ngai witũ reke tũmanyite na twĩtĩkĩre na makĩria gwathĩka ndacokia ngatho nĩ ndungata ĩno yaku kũhete ihinda rĩrĩ mwathani yũke tũthomithie ũhoro ũcio wa Sacco mwathani nĩ wega Ngai Sacco nĩcio irateithia andũ ndũtarĩ handũ ĩnyitĩire mwathani ndangĩhota gũthiĩ handũ na mbere mwathani no nĩ tondũ baba nĩ ũtwĩrĩte tũgege na kwĩnyihia nĩkĩo Ngai tũka mbere yaku tũkĩnyihia na tũkĩrathimithia ciana ici moko-ini maku ciothe iria tũtongoria thĩinĩ wa Sacco ĩno itũ ya insurance mwathani mĩrĩithie no mĩmenyerere mwathani na makĩria magwĩtigagĩre mahinda mothe naguo roho waku mũtheru Ngai ũmatongoragie ihinda ciothe mwathani magĩtua itua na magĩikara thĩ gũcemania ũmarĩithagie na ũmamenyerere na twahoya ũguo tũkĩgwetaga Kristo ĩmwe mwathani na mũhonokia wa ngoro citũ na rĩtwa rĩa Ithe na rĩa Mwana na rĩa Muoyo Mũtheru nĩgũtuĩke.
Asante. Yes.
As you go out, and we are not able to prepare something for as a cup of tea. Okay, you get an envelope there. You go to na fair. Na ukione hado ugithi hari uguo ta hagatonye mukawa na uthi ukinyua gikombe gia cai kasi no gono ndia gothera wira.
Thank you. Twahoya now you have official